This is Dexter Robinson, Entrepreneurship 645, subject matter expert interview with Alyssa Townsend. Hey, Alyssa, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dex?
Good. So we're just going to jump
Good.
right into some questions and learn a little bit more about you, and share some stuff with our viewers today. So the first question is, tell us a little bit about your professional experience with marketing, branding, and innovation.
I've kind of been in the three for a while now. Did a lot of it when I was in college, but professionally, I've been in a marketing role for about a year and a half now. Prior to that, I did more PR and communications work. But currently, I work in an in-house agency doing social media marketing, and through that, we do some campaigns. As far as branding, we've gotten new clients or new hotels, and those are who our clients are. And so we've gone through some branding processes with that. But personally, I've done some work on the side, and then as I said in college with branding and marketing, just designing logos or launching different campaigns and different work like that.
So tell us a little bit about kind of your current role and your title within the company that you're at.
Yeah, so I am director of social media at Innisfree Hotels. Innisfree Hotels is a hotel marketing management and development company. Within that, we have an in-house digital marketing agency, which is where I work. It's called Be Loud, where I oversee our social media department. And what that means is that any of our social media presences, either for our clients as well as for the company, my team and I manage that. So it's myself as director. I also have another social media manager. And then we have a team who helps with the customer service side. But on the marketing side, I primarily work in organic social media and again, running and coming up with all the different content and posts that go out on those pages.
Awesome. So you mentioned that y'all are in-house, so obviously your perspective of kind of your target audience is a little different. But what tools, if any, in market research have you used to learn more about your target audience?
So actually, a lot of our kind of insight into our target audience comes from social media in the sense of when we build our Facebook pages, who's our audience, what demographics are we seeing there. We also get data from our guests at the hotel in the sense of who is staying there. But on the flip side of that, it's not just who stays at hotels, but who is planning the trip because that is our target audience. And so we find that to be primarily women, ages about 30 to 50, more specifically like 35, 45. And so that's our target audience. And so a lot of our content that we put out tends to cater to the woman who's sitting at her office or maybe at home who kind of wants to get away and is looking to book that family vacation or a business trip or whatever it might be.
As it pertains to like psychographics and demographics, what have you learned as far as like common trends or interest of your audience? So you highlighted that a little bit. Is there anything else that you notice about kind of this targeted group of women?
I think one part of our strategy is to have our motto is creating fun and memorable experiences. And so a large part of our social strategy is to make sure that translates into whenever our guests interact with us online. And so I've just noticed that it's a lot of fun. And so there might be like tagging friends, like, hey, come on, let's plan this girl's getaway, or tagging their significant other, like, this is the hotel I was talking about. And so we try to kind of tap into that in the sense of they're starting this conversation. They're already looking like, hey, I want to go here, or let's go explore that, or let's go visit this. Or if it's a picture of a pina colada, they're like, I want one of those. And so we really try to kind of speak that back to them, like, yeah, we've got one waiting for you whenever whenever you want to join us. So kind of tapping into that wanderlust is a big trend that we see and we try to continue.
That's awesome. So right now, analytics is a buzzword. So how does your office or how do you use analytics and where do you pull your analytics from, if at all?
So we pull a lot of analytics and we're working on looking at them a little bit more. But currently we use something called Sprout Social for all of our social media. And one thing that I love about Sprout is their reporting features and analytics are absolutely incredible. They have a tagging feature, which allows me to tag inbound and outbound messages. And so we can identify trends that way. We can see what content is performing well. We can also kind of look at we're doing some influencer collaborations now. So I can see, okay, did our followings or engagement spike during that period when we collaborated with them, or was it beneficial to us? So we can kind of use that quantitative data to really understand what it is that we're doing and if it's being beneficial or not. The other side is that we do a lot of Google Analytics. I'm not as much involved with that, but something that we're definitely looking to dive into a lot deeper to see where the traffic is coming from, the part that social plays in that, as well as kind of how we can tailor our content based on that data that we're getting. So I'm excited. I really want to dive into the numbers. We talked about doing like a data day, but we just gotta, get it happening. And like you said, analytics is such a buzzword. It is speaking to and providing so much insight into not just what you're doing, but what you could or should be doing. So I'll have more on that for you later.
Awesome, awesome. So how important is it to understand like engagements and impressions for marketing and like branding projects?
I think it's important as far as understanding your not just your target audience, but who your actual audience is. Sometimes the two aren't exactly the same. Who you might be going for isn't quite who you might get. And so it's important for us to know, okay, what are people responding to and reacting to? Know what are people responding to? What do they like? What are they engaging with? But at the same time, it's like, what is the information that we need to put out there? So it's a balance between the two. The other thing is that social media is constantly changing. Facebook's algorithm is like chasing just so it's always trying to keep up with that, as well as Instagram and the different things that they're doing. So I think it's not quite a hard and fast rule as much as it is just kind of adding that insight, but it's definitely not the law. Like you kind of take it and you say, okay, I'm digesting that and it's influencing what you do, but not dictating, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. What are some effective ways that you've helped clients or internally or externally with some of the other things that you've mentioned better establish their brand and market their products or services toward their desired audience?
I think one of my favorite things is something that we do called Surprise and Delights. And what that is that what I found nowadays is that people share everything on social media, a little too much. But the things that they do share, we try and use that to help enhance their guest experience. And so, it all goes back to creating that fun and memorable experience that is just really a hallmark of everything that we do. And so if we have a hotel and their basis is really being family friendly and catering to kids. So if somebody posts that, maybe a kid is celebrating a 10th birthday or they just graduated kindergarten or really whatever it might be, we take that information and we might surprise them with a birthday cake or a card or just something. And so really underlining that the experience that you have with us and the things that we offer and your family vacation with us is truly going to be different than anywhere else. And so it helps to take that data and, like I said, enhance the experience. It's not just what people share, but whether it's reviews or comments, we identify trends that way. So if enough people complain about the pillows or, I don't know, other little things, then we can tweak the experience to constantly enhance it. And so that's one way is that we're using social data to help improve our product or service.
Are there ways that you help like your clients or folks that you've worked with on different like projects kind of understand what it is that they're doing? So sometimes marketing can be tricky, like you've already kind of alluded to, right? With what should dictate versus what should influence. So when somebody presents an idea to you, are there not necessarily hard, fast rules, but are there certain things that you kind of keep in mind as you're learning more about the desired project?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. So it's interesting for me, being the in-house agency, I get a lot of say in kind of how the social strategy is run. A lot of our clients just kind of leave it to my team and I to do what we do. And every now and then they'll kind of say, hey, I really like to post about this, or can we share something like that? Which of course we do. But sometimes if it doesn't align or if it's not quite the best avenue, then we have to have conversations of, hey, like this might be a little bit better to reach the audience that you're going for. Sometimes certain information that I'll read online or kind of say, hey, from what I'm seeing online and the like repetition of comments that I'm receiving, it seems like this direction would be a good one to go in. But that's just kind of a recommendation that I can offer. And sometimes it's up to them. I've definitely seen it where it's like, hey, it's sounding like your guests are wanting this. And they're like, well, no, we're going to do that. And it's just kind of like, okay. So that's kind of in that role, I'm a lot more influence. I can kind of say this is what the data and what the information is saying, but I'm definitely not in a position to, ultimately it's my clients. And so they can either listen to what people are saying online or not. So.
So in your experience, have you worked with any like startups or small businesses before? And maybe like what are some effective ways that you've engaged with folks that have limited budgets or limited budgets or kind of resources as it pertains to like marketing and like services?
Yeah, I think social is like, particularly if you have a limited budget and resource, social needs to be like your first step once the brand is established and all of that. But it's an awesome tool to really tap into what's going on out there and to gain exposure for yourself and to really build a community. I think that's the biggest thing about social. People always say social media is about being social. And so it's building that community online where you can tap into new people, where you can find those who are already using your product or service or familiar with it and really get them to share more about their experience with it and kind of like that, those evangelical testimonies or whatever really. Because word of mouth is huge and it's not just telling your neighbor about this thing anymore. It's your followers and just people online. Because again, it's that community. And so I would definitely say tap into social. I would say to have your brand established. And by that, branding is just really who you are or what your business is at its core. And so sticking to that and making sure that your social strategy aligns with who you are at your core. A lot of times I'll see people doing something that doesn't really mesh or isn't quite aligned with what they say that they're doing, what they say they're about because they're trying to go viral or be the hip, hot new Wendy's online. But I think that, you want to present an authentic version of who you are and your business so that those followers that you're getting, again, are aligned with who you are and what your business is because you don't want to sell a lie and then provide something else.
So what's the most creative project you've ever worked on?
Most creative project. I would have to say our CEO and founder last fall went on a trip around the world. And he has a Honda Jet, and it was a partnership with Honda Jet. And we kind of had to come together as a team and figure out a way to promote his experience. It was he and his wife, as well as kind of figuring out, okay, what are we going to call it? What's this campaign going to be like? What's the structure? How do we want to play it out? How are we distributing the content? And really getting that all together probably in about 3 weeks and then executing it over, I want to say it was maybe 2 months, 2.5 months. So that was fun. Now looking back, I can say that in the middle, kind of preparing and wrapping our heads around something that we've never really done before. Because it was still travel, so similar, but just the structure of it, it's like telling this experience and we're not actually there. So it was a lot of coordination and communication, but I'd have to say that the way that, and it was a lot of figuring out as we went, but I loved it. It was super fun. We were posting blog posts and videos and social and there was a website. And so getting all that together was really fun and creative and allowed me and as well as my team and my peers a way to kind of think about something in a way that we hadn't before. And like I said, just wrap our heads around it and then boom, execute. So it's called Around the World in 80 Stays if you want to check it out.
All right. All right. We can Google that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who are some of your mentors or just people in your field that do amazing work that you kind of tap into?
One of them is actually a good friend of mine. And we're both in the same field, but just her insight and information. And I even asked her, I said, how do you stay on top of all these things? And she sent me a list of all her newsletters. But Alexis Davis is also a social media manager. And she also has something called the Content Plug. But I'm just constantly looking at what she's posting and all of her different tips and insight, because that's kind of how I find out first. The people she retweets, that's who I go follow. And so I stay on top of trends that way. I'm also really huge on just the newsletters and different sites. So I'm big on, there's something called Launch Ticker. And so they have a lot of recent updates. And I think TechCrunch is where launch ticker kind of pulls from. But anything new that comes out on Instagram or Facebook, and just all the changing things with Twitter, like when they went and did the follower cleanup a few weeks ago, I find out that way. Otherwise, it's a lot of little people that I just kind of come across on Instagram. I'm constantly looking at Instagram for inspiration, and just like that little save feature was perfect. All my little collections are just like filed, and like this is my Instagram story inspo, and this is what I like for content, and just like different ways that they're engaging with folks. So I don't have like, I'll have to go through my followers for specifics, but really it's just kind of, I see something I like on Instagram and I follow them to kind of continue to see their ideas and the way that they're doing things. But I would definitely say Alexis is an awesome resource, and just she is so in the know on things. And then just different pages. There's also a business called Your Social Team. They're based out of Atlanta, and they have awesome stuff and content on Instagram as well, as far as changes in the field. And they actually just did an Ask Me Anything on their Instagram story, and awesome resources there too.
Nice. So that actually went right into my next question. So, is there anything else you want to kind of add as far as like tips, techniques, and trends that some of our viewers may want to know?
I would say that it takes some time to kind of curate your perfect list of resources. But I would definitely research. Twitter is one of my favorites too. I think I have like 34 lists on Twitter of just different things that I tap into, whether it's social media marketing or just communications in general, tech, to just keep up with all of the things that are changing. Sprout Chat, it happens every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central on Twitter. They have different topics and things, from influencers to, I think last week they talked about social return on investment, but just a lot of community resources to tap into. The thing with social is always staying on top of what's changing, which can seem daunting. I know it does to me, but it's just at least kind of knowing. When I came into this role, I almost never used Instagram, and now I'm on it all the time because that's how I find out about the new features. I remember I was on a run one day, and I posted a picture of the view, and that's when I saw where you could ask a question, and I was like, oh, well, perfect, that's the new feature. And so it's just constantly being in the platform. That's how you find out about things. And I'm a kinetic learner, and so there's just so many ways that you can do things. So just be in there and be hands-on and open to all the different options.
There was a tip or two you could share with like startups and entrepreneurs, just kind of about marketing, whether it's specifically social or not, what would it be?
I would say when it comes to marketing and a little bit about branding, authenticity is everything. Like, know who you are and stick to that, and continue to just stay in line with that, because yeah, it's one, easy because once you know, you just stick to that, but it's also where you'll find the people who really rock with you and like support you, and that in itself will make way for new opportunities.
How can our viewers kind of stay in touch with you, see some of your posts, and kind of learn more about what it is that you do, or kind of some of your tips and tricks? Because you do have a couple of posts here and there that people enjoy reading. So give us a little more info about you and how people can stay connected.
Yeah, so I am in social media, so I am on social media, A-Town X across the board. I'm not from Atlanta, but Alyssa, Townsend, get it. But A-Town X, I'm actually working on my website now, and so I transferred platforms, and I'm working on bulking it up with a little bit more content, but that's going to be atownx.com. You can follow me on Twitter at atownx. I'll retweet a lot of tips and tricks there and share resources. Same thing on Instagram, atownx. LinkedIn, if you want to connect with me, I'm totally down. I share a lot of articles there. LinkedIn.com/in/atownx. There's a trend here. But totally down to connect. Feel free to email me, message me. You can email me at atownx@icloud.com. And I'm always here to help and share tips and tricks. And if you just have a question or are trying to figure something out, I'm definitely here to help. So.